What up, world? This is the Big Lumpy Couch. I'm Uncle Bill. I'm joined on the couch by my best friend and Canadian music producer, Stimpack.
You sure are.
Today, I was thinking to myself, there's definitely been an influx on how we view celebrities. Like, we used to almost view them as like art in a museum, but now they're almost like freak shows in a circus. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I don't know about like freak shows, but what I have noticed a big shift, and I don't know if it was COVID or what, but there was a time where we were down on the ground and we were looking up at these famous people. Whoa, there's a Hollywood cool club. I don't know, because me and you grew up in, boring small Canadian hockey towns, always looking for something to do. And technology was new and just TV in general and DVDs were new. So whoever was on our screen, I don't know, kind of like superheroes to us, where if you watched, Space Jam and saw Michael Jordan hanging out with Bugs Bunny, and then you figure out who Michael Jordan is, and that can blow your mind. And but there was a time where we were on the ground, like right on ground zero, and then we were looking up at this cool Hollywood club, and we weren't worthy. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was COVID or what, I feel that playing field kind of got totally leveled, and now it's all about relatability. And instead of us going to them, they have to come to us. They got to be like, oh shit, what does the average Joe Blow find funny? How do we be relatable? How do we figure out what their comedy style is and copy that? Whereas there was a time where it was the other way around, where it was just, okay, well, what they say goes, like the celebrities, right? And we copy them and we dress like them and we talk like them. At least I did. But now that's all different, where we're just like, "Ooh, okay, big fucking rich Hollywood cool club over here, like throwing a bunch of money around, or getting in trouble or something." And it's just not that big of a deal anymore. And it used to be. I don't know when the shift happened, if it was COVID or what, but there definitely has been a shift where now I don't know, we don't really give a shit about celebrities anymore. And now it's more about the human connection, about, doing what we're doing, jumping on with your friend and shooting the shit about regular stuff, instead of looking into under these rocks at what these celebrities are doing. But yeah, I don't think we give a shit anymore.
Um, so I'd have to agree with you. It's almost like we broke their code at COVID. So many people became social media influencers, and there was an influx on like TikTokers and YouTube. Everybody wanted to become a content creator, so now everybody's has a chance to be famous. And so it's almost like it's not that big of a deal if you do become famous. Everybody's famous nowadays in their own way. It's funny that you mentioned Michael Jordan because me being born in 1993, and I think Space Jam came out in 1998, somewhere around there. And at the time, like Michael Jordan was like the ultimate superstar. Not only was he Michael Jordan, like the greatest basketball player at the time, or still to ever exist, depending on where you come from on that one. But he also then became a huge movie star to like kids like us, where he was hanging out with the Looney Tunes, right? So like, not only did he have that athletic sort of celebrity status, but also now he was a movie star almost. And I wonder, do you think that extends still to athletes, or are athletes still special?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they are still idolized and glorified in the sports fan community. I got a feeling that if you were a, I don't know, Crosby fan, 15 years ago, that kind of viewpoint and perspective has kind of stayed the same. I'm not a huge sports guy, but I know a lot of and hang out with a lot of sports guys. And it sounds like it stayed the same. And if anything, since a lot of other outlets for spending your free time have kind of burnt out and aren't as prominent as they used to be, whether that be, watching TV, or watching cable, or even going to the movies, or doing a lot of other things that we used to do all the time and now we don't do anymore. Sports have kind of stayed. I feel like they've kind of stayed the same, and I feel that they're kind of grounding and good for the community and good for everybody to go to a sporting event. Like whenever I go to a Canucks game with my dad, I don't follow a lot of hockey, but I love watching hockey because I feel it's one of the most, maybe not spiritual, but like I'll use the word spiritual. Like one of the most spiritual things that you can do as a Canadian is go to a hockey arena, watch an NHL game with a bunch of other Canadians, and cheer for the home team. I think it's one of the best feelings ever. Like you're just hanging out with a beer with your buddies and just rooting for the home team, and it's a great feeling, and I think everybody should experience it. Like I want to have a British friend go to the UK, and watch a packed stadium full of soccer fans and fucking go hard. I think that would be incredible. the whole place would just light up when the team scores, and you can just all be a part of it. It's
I'd maybe use the word patriotic because what's more Canadian than watching a hockey game, drinking a beer?
been watching hockey. Yeah, that's right.
You know what? You're right. I'm really excited for the World Cup to come to North America
Yeah.
because now I will have a chance of seeing that level of sporting event, but in Canada. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I've always wanted to see a European soccer game because I recently saw the Vancouver Whitecaps take on Toronto FC, and that was pretty good. And that's
Mhm.
about as professional as you get when it comes to soccer in North America. Because I mean, that's
Mhm.
the league right now that Messi plays in. So everybody's been paying attention to that one. Yeah, well, what do you think caused this? Do you think it was people that just changed their mind, or do you think something changed it for it? Was it an event? What do you think like changed this shift for how we view celebrities?
I think it has a lot to do with the internet. Like, let's look at like I've seen this example used a lot, but like let's look at like MTV Cribs for instance. And when those type of reality shows were on TV, and like we were in that transitional phase from like watching cartoons like Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob, and then when we're like 12, 13, 14, now we're in high school, all of a sudden now there's that shift to, okay, well I want to watch reality shows. I want to watch young people doing real things. And that's what me and my sister ate that shit up. And so you look at something like MTV Cribs where you see 50 Cent flex in this big ass house, and he's got all these sports cars just lined up on the like in his front yard, where some of that might be true, where these are rich people and they might just have sports cars lying around, but we know now that a lot of that stuff was staged. A lot of that stuff was, you can pull the curtain back when you see the almighty Oz up there, but the internet was the curtain that you can pull back and be like, well, no, that's, I fact checked this from reliable sources and that's not true. So now we used to be seeing, yeah, the Wizard of Oz and like down our living rooms and looking up and I'm like, whoa. And now because of the internet, we can pull the curtain back and be like, nah, that ain't it. And so I think a lot of us have just realized how full of shit a lot of famous people are, and just things on screens are in general, how altered they are for attention and ad revenue and all that stuff. So I think a lot of it has to do with the internet, and it kind of exposed the underbelly of a lot of what we were watching through the screens, and like celebrities were kind of at the forefront of that. So I got a feeling that now whenever we hear something from anybody, whether that be from a leader, from an actor, from an athlete or anything, we kind of just take it with a grain of salt. We kind of question it, and then we open up the internet to fact check it, and then we go to social media and listen to that echo chamber and say, oh, what do you guys think? And there's all these theories about all this stuff, and then we can't find a happy medium. But I got a feeling it was the internet that kind of pulled the curtain back on this big celebrity cool club.
I would also have to say that we figured out exactly how fake they are because it's kind of like really funny that you mentioned 50 Cent's episode of MTV Cribs because that episode was named to being one of the shifting points in that TV show because 50 Cent actually rented out a mansion for the show and completely staged the place. And if you actually look it up, the most watched episode of MTV Cribs is Redman because he's literally like, "Hey, welcome to my broken down shack. I'm just like you. Look at my fridge. I have KD." You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the most viewed episodes of MTV Cribs, and is Redman because he was just so fucking real about it. He was just like, "Yeah, I'm broke too."
Yeah, because we were around when like the Jackass Viva La Bam era was like at its prime, and I think that was a really cool time to be alive when you were just a sugar rushed, friggin' chaotic adolescent kid, like, and you'd try and do the Jackass stunts with your friends and stuff like that. But then when I saw the Jackass crews, MTV Cribs, a lot of those guys were in beaten down apartments, and Chris Pontius was living out of his car. So I'm sure when MTV's just, okay, we're gonna go to all your houses and you're gonna show us all this cool stuff, he's probably like, I don't have a house. I live out of my car. Well, show us that. And he did.
People like real. I think that's why we like
Mhm.
reality TV so much. Not only because we're just fiends for drama, we love drama because we don't have enough excitement in our own lives. Make us excitement in someone else's life. But also, reality TV brings us the realness. It takes away the fakeness. And I think as society, we enjoy that. We want to see the dirty. People started paying attention to politics when they started having their affairs leak and stuff like that. Makes it more entertaining, more engageable.
Yeah. Kind of swing this convo in a different direction. I've thought of this for a while, but we're kind of in the point where, because you said that we went from watching like movies and TV and everything and flipping it over to reality shows, where it's just okay, well, we want real now. I said like I feel a part of that was the internet, but now that we're at the part where we don't want to be lied to, we want to see real, even though it's a two-part thing. It's a reality show. So that walks the line where it's just okay, sure, it's reality in the terms of these are real places and these are real people, but underneath that, it is still a show. Like there's still a structure. There's still, there's still a lot of strings being pulled. It's not just Trailer Park Boys where you just go, hey, 3, 2, 1, go. Here's a prompt, off you go, and you get some magic there. It's a reality show. I've been spinning this idea for a while in my head. I want to lay it on you. I really think we're in a position now, and I hope this changes soon, where the simulation has become more interesting than reality. Meaning, you could play an ocean exploration game where you're scuba diving in the ocean, and your brain is hitting the same circuits as you would, or similar circuits to if you actually did big dive, but because your brain doesn't know the difference, it's tingling the same, it's hitting the same sensors that it would if you were actually in the ocean looking around. Especially now that we got VR, it's pretty close. So we're at the point where we'd rather do the simulation than do the real thing, where instead of okay, let's build a garden and attend to that and see how that expands, you could play a farm simulation game and do the same thing. So the simulations become better than the real thing, and it's got some stiff competition. How can you beat some of this stuff?
Yeah, like you said, better than reality. You used to play video games to do things that you couldn't, that you wanted to do in real life, but you just couldn't, race really fast, shoot big guns. But now you can do things that even aren't humanly possible in video games.
Yeah, me and wifey were looking at how many simulator games there are. There's 50, and they're doing well. People are downloading it and people are playing it, like Bus Driver Simulator or Telus Cable Guy Simulator, where you just do the mundane, grimy things, and people are into it. When if you've got your life structured where you go to work at a job, hopefully you can tolerate, just so you can get off work and go play video games, where I don't blame people for doing that, because like video games are great and work sucks. If that's the balancing act, is just work hard and then you go home and play hard, play on your games, like in your brain, you're accomplishing a lot. You're just like, hey, finally I can jump back into this world and like customize my character and do all this stuff. And if that fills your cup, great. Like I'm glad that you found something. You found the work hard and now you found the play hard, and that's great. It's just we're not actually going out and building gardens, wars, or fighting battles, or customizing your house and making your perfect family. A lot of people aren't doing that because video games are just easier, funner, more accessible, quicker rewards, quicker feedback loops where there's no delay, where right when I hit a button and I throw the sword and it hits somebody and that feels good. It's hard to compete with that. And then even you look at things like Disney movies. When we were coming up, there was the golden age of when Disney movies were coming out, and you hear these big emotional, like father son talks and talks about taking your life back and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. It's just, well, how can your parents compete with advice like that? So it's how the movies have done the parenting.
It's kind of funny that you say that people try to escape the mundane to do the mundane. People are escaping real life just to live life. Because there's this thing that's going around that's video games are getting so real and AI is getting so real in video games that NPCs might start believing that they're real or not knowing that they're not real. That the characters that you interact with in video games live a life in that video game.
Yeah, it's almost a Black Mirror episode, right? I'm pretty ignorant to the gaming world and like where we're at. But, I've heard it and I've seen the content of people putting AI into their games, to the point where I heard Fable 2 or Fable 3 that your character ages when the console's off, and like shit happens in the game when you're not even playing it. So now if you put AI into that, well, let's say that you don't play the game for a month, is the character going to tap on the screen and go like, hey, where have you been?
There was this meme that went around the internet that what if we are a save file that God forgot about?
Could be it.
Do you think that this is strictly Western issue? We're paying attention less to our celebrities and getting more involved in what's not real. We're replacing what we used to do with fake. Instead of celebrities, we're doing AI celebrities. And instead of watching reality TV, we're we're playing reality more often. Do you think that's strictly Western thing, or do you think that's a worldwide thing?
I'd guess so. I'd guess that it's a Western thing. I mean, I only really, I mean, I'm not paying a hell of a lot of attention to what's going on outside of that when it comes to the fun stuff that we're talking about. What are you consuming? What are you watching? It's I kind of only consume a lot of content that comes from where we are, but I think so. And I don't really I don't think it's to reframe what you were saying. I don't think it's necessarily that we're escaping the mundane to do the mundane, because I do think that because a lot of fake dopamine that we used to chase is starting to like not hit as hard. Like movies aren't really hitting the same. We were talking about like a lot of video games aren't really hitting the same. But now people are starting to like, oh hey, do you want to go to a comedy show together? Do you want to just go for a walk in the park? Do you want to pick up a phone and call your friend? Like that's a good, reliable, like not just dopamine source, but like anything. The human connection, I think, is coming back. But yeah, on the other side of that coin, I think now we're reaching for video games and, bus driver simulator as almost a vice where it's just plug me into something. My brain's buzzing. Just, I need to do tasks. Just plug me into something and leave me alone.
I do find myself even needing background noise to do everything. It's almost like we're overstimulated so much that now we need to be stimulated constantly, that we don't know how to be understimulated.
Yeah.
One of the things going around the whole parenting world is that kids today aren't really allowed to be bored, or aren't being bored enough to where they're constructively solving that boredom. No, my iPad died. I'm bored. Mom, Dad, entertain me. Where you and I would have found a stick and would have made a whole different game out of that stick. I think there's a lack of imagination nowadays. And if it's not right in front of you, then it's
Yeah.
not there.
I'm with it, and I'm glad you brought this up because I hear it talked about a lot, but from people that mean a lot to me. They're talking about boredom and attention spans, and they look at the youth, they look at their elders, and they kind of compare the two, and seeing what's going on with our attention and what are we reaching for when we're bored. For a long time, I thought that boredom was the enemy. I thought because it's uncomfortable when you got nothing to do and you're sitting around, and it's super uncomfortable to the point where it's almost painful, especially if I'm like locked in to, I don't know, if I have to take a day course or something that I don't really care about, and I'm locked in for like 6 hours and there's nowhere to run and it's boring as fuck. That's painful and it's uncomfortable. So that's why people stuff their brains into their phones and just forget about it. But a lot of these things that we reach for when we're bored, I find are almost vices because you can't be with yourself. And before, when those weren't around, you're right. We would have found a stick, we would have found something, we would have found ways to entertain ourselves. But now that there's so much that you can reach for when you feel that uncomfortable feeling, I mean, you can look no further than your phone. But we've all heard that rant before about phones, and that's a whole other thing. But I think it's a coping mechanism. You look at people standing in line for 5 minutes at Tim's or something, or a couple minutes, and the second they get in line, they plug into their phones because instead of standing around, looking around, almost looking available to be approached if someone comes up to you and asks you something. Whereas you don't even want to look open. You want to look closed off. You're like, nope, don't talk to me. And I get it if that's who you are, but they just stuff their head in their phones, and I get it. Like it's boring. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. It's almost a vice where you can't really sit with yourself for too long, and that boredom is too uncomfortable. So you reach for a vice to take the edge off. And every time you reach for that vice, that muscle is getting more and more floppy and more loose from being able to sit with yourself and be with yourself when nothing's going on. That's why, things like meditation is so important, where you can absorb yourself and watch yourself and witness yourself. And that muscle gets stronger to be able to be with yourself. I don't know if you've ever been on a long bus ride and your phone's dead. You just kind of sit there, you can doom scroll in your brain and think about different things and sort your shit out. But we don't really do that anymore because we don't have to. There's too much available to take that awkward feeling away.
Do you think this is necessarily a bad thing, that we're less focused, we're more dopamine driven, we're always looking for the short um, rather than the long? I think that's necessarily a bad thing. Do you think we're on our way to a bad place?
The short has just become the norm. That's all. Like, if we don't need to sit with ourselves for a long time and like come up with ideas where, like, I don't know if we do or not, but I just think the short has become the norm, and like the world is kind of shifting and evolving into, short form content. Like, we're just adapting to, okay, people's attention spans are clearly like going on the downslide, where you used to be able to just kick your feet up and watch a movie, but now people need to be on their phones, they need to have background noise, they need to have all of these other things to get to the same result that we used to get to easier. But now that, yeah, that our attention span is kind of on the downslide, it's just not like that. So is that good or is that bad? I don't know. Say a full auto blast versus a shotgun blast or a sniper shot, which is better? I don't know. But it's definitely changing and evolving, and we're all just kind of rolling with the punches at this point. Where, okay, I don't think I should make a 12-minute music video. I think I should just release the song, do a couple short form content bursts, and that'll be that. Because, yeah, people probably won't watch the whole thing.
Actually, I agree with you. It's most less art is put into the art. One of my favorite sayings is like it was better when ugly people were allowed to make it. But do you necessarily think that's because we're so caught up on how everybody looks, or is that because artists are just pump it out quick? Doesn't matter. Whatever makes me money. Do you think the art for the sake of art is disappearing?
Maybe I'm naive, but I think it's coming back, because you're totally right, where it was all just can-made stuff, quick junk food, pump it out as fast as you can. We know the formula that works about short form content, ads, TikTok, and like if you release a song on the 31st, you should be making 31 different snippets leading up to that, jack your pre-saves up. Like, there was a formula that was working for a while. I don't think it's working much anymore because of where our attention span is, and we're kind of just focusing on different things. But I think making art for art's sake is slowly starting to come back. I want to tell you a story too about when ugly people were allowed to make music and stuff like that, and how much their looks and their aesthetics kind of bleed into the music and how people perceive it. I work at a music store, and me and this younger kid who was, I think, 20 at the time, and I was about 26, 27. So there's a bit of an age gap there, and we were just curious about each other. Like, we're curious about he was curious about how I came up, and I'm curious about what's going on now and how he came up. And he was telling me about all these new cats that I'd never heard of, a lot of the like internet rap kind of scene. And he was telling me about this guy. Again, no shade or no smoke to this artist, but this was the example that he used. He was telling me about this new artist called Tease a Touchdown, and he's got this crazy look where he's got these nails in his hair. He basically has dreadlocks, but they're framing nails, and that's a cool look. And dude, you got to hear this kid. You got to hear Tease a Touchdown. All right, hit me. And so we played this album throughout the day, and it's good, but it kind of sounds like, kind of gives me a little bit of Travis Scott, gives me a little bit of Weekend, a bit of Khalid, a bit of just a lot of other acts that were coming out that kind of sound similar to him. And then I said, okay, if I brought you this album and you listened to it with your eyes closed, would it hit the same? And he kind of didn't really get it. But then he came back the next day and he goes, I get it. He goes, there is something about, oh, this is a guy with a cool look making music. But if you just heard the music and there's nothing attached to it, would it still hit the same? But there's something about that he's a cool guy with a cool look. I want to be a cool guy with a good look. And if I listen to this music, it kind of puts me in that world, and we get to like walk down the street together and be in these cool guys. But if you didn't know what he looked like at all, the music would still be good, but I don't think it would have the same kind of hook that it has that people like. Like I always use Kiss as an example too. Like, I like Kiss, but imagine if Kiss were just black t-shirts and jeans making the music that they make.
No, that wouldn't be them.
No. Like, and you look at Kiss, like you look at all this, like the pyro and like everything that Kiss is, and you would think they're like a heavy, heavy metal band. But no, they make love rock. Like, they're called Kiss, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, if they were just yeah, blue jeans and t-shirts wearing dudes, like, I think there wouldn't really be anything special about the music that they're making. A lot of it is their stage presence and their look and their brand.
Yeah. Well, and they got a lot of hate in the early days because a lot of people thought they were demonic. But if you actually follow their lore, they're aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. In different parts of the world, different types of people are considered more important. For us in the West, it's actors, singers, athletes. But look at the Pope or Putin. Do you think those people are losing relevance in their own celebrityness as well?
Politicians, I kind of would put in the same category as sports we talked about a second ago, where I got a feeling if politics are your thing and you really wear your politics on your sleeve and you're a politics fan, I don't think that has been affected too much over where the technology is and where media is and where our attention is. I don't think that changed too much. I mean, I could be naive and ignorant to the whole thing, but I got a feeling that if you were a big politic person before, you're probably just as much, if not more, now. I don't think that attention has really, well, because think about it. Like you think about the quote unquote slop that we get fed all the time. Like the stuff that will work every single time if you start doom scrolling is rage bait, politics, or sex. Or I think I would add a fourth category of nostalgia. If you start talking about the stuff back in the day, those four things are going to work every time. So, yeah, politics is definitely a part of that. Where if you're doom scrolling and all of a sudden you see a picture of a political person, some people would stop and like they have to know, oh fuck, what's Trump saying, what's Putin saying, right? Like it's such a hook. It's going to work every time. And now that social media is kind of on the downslide and people are sick of the doom scrolling and stuff, I think we're slowly going to start coming back to the things that matter. Hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your family, going for what matters, and we're going to back away from this whole attention trap. But let's walk before we run here.
No, I agree 100%. And that was very well put. So well, in fact, but I think that's where we're going to leave it for this week. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday. Thank you for listening to the Big Lumpy Couch. Have a good week, world.